Welcome into another special edition of the Booth Review Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. London Fletcher will be my weekly partner, but today, down in Miami, off of the joint practice, the one and only Brian Mitchell.
What's up, Bram?
What's going on? How are you?
I'm good.
We beat the rain. It's actually, as we're taping this, it's pouring outside, but we had the underrated humidity of Miami today for the joint practice.
That's how it is down south. You see it gets humid, and when you're this close to the water, it happens. And normally, right around this time, the rain comes in. It's going to stop soon, and it's going to be hot as hell out there.
All right, so we did the first edition of this last week, and London and I were in a hotel room like you and I are right now down in Miami, and then we threw it up on YouTube, and everybody freaked out because they couldn't see us. So I just want you're not going to, obviously, if you're watching this now, you're not going to see us, but we promise in the ones that start on the 26th, we're going to do it out of the studio. You'll be able to see us. So there we go. There's that. All right, you can watch B. Mitch tomorrow night at the game with Chick Hernandez and Brian Colbert Jr. WUSA 9 is the local carrier of the preseason for the Commanders, and you can hear me, London, and Logan Paulson on the radio. Big 100 is the flagship for the game tomorrow night. All right, now we paid all the bills.
There you go.
Let's do it. All right. Mike McDaniel, Dan Quinn have a unique relationship. In fact, even Dan Quinn talked about today how he helped Mike McDaniel when he was going through some substance abuse back in the day and really was a big fan of his work. And he had talked openly about how this really worked out in the preseason with these joint practices. He has a very close relationship with Robert Saleh, very close relationship with Mike McDaniel. And I think today what you saw was a very professional environment between these two teams, and it was coordinated that way.
It was a very professional environment, and also because those two people respect each other.
Yeah.
And normally when the coaches respect each other, you'll get this type of practice where, you see a little pushing and shoving. That happens in sports. But you didn't see anything crazy. And I think the ultimate thing is that coaches always say what they don't want, and a lot of times they don't respect the coaches they're practicing against. Yeah. They'll have their players doing some stupid. These two people respected each other, and you didn't see that. And then you also saw the intensity in practice. They were able to get great work on both sides of the ball.
So I want to talk about that. My biggest takeaway today from watching this was there was an effort mentality about Miami that is unusual. I saw this in their preseason game and getting ready to call the game, against the Dolphins this week. In their first one against Atlanta, they don't hide anything.
Yeah.
They have what appears to be this confidence of, we're just going to practice what we do. We don't care if you see it, and we want to make you stop it. And that was happening today in this practice. All that misdirection, the speed, the usage of all that, Washington got to experience it today.
They got to experience it, but the thing about Mike McDaniel, his offense is that you saw his base. Okay. They do a lot of extra stuff off of that. And I think it was great for Washington because normally in preseason, you see the vanilla stuff. Okay. His offense is more advanced than a lot of people's offenses. So the natural stuff is a lot of movement, which I think was great for these linebackers and for these defensive backs. They got to see those things, and they also looked like they belonged. They didn't look like they were overwhelmed by it.
Now, it's funny because the first few teams that Washington faces, if you look at the opponents, Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield, pocket passer, right? Giants, Daniel Jones can move a little bit. Let's see what the offense looks like when he comes back. Joe Burrow, until we get to Arizona and don't really know what Kyler Murray's offense is going to look like, I don't think they're going to play anything that replicates anything like this. But I also feel like this team, Miami, and it shows in how they performed a year ago, they execute with speed better than most teams. And if there ever was a good test to have in the preseason, it's these guys. You find out where you are when you practice against them.
And like Jeremy Chin said, they have a 4x100 track team on their roster. It was great for them because what happened with all the misdirection, you have to stick to your keys. And you saw a lot of that today where they didn't get lost. And I think when you look at some of the games last year, they got lost. And right now, I think you're seeing a better job of coaching happening. And also you're seeing a lot more people that's paying attention to detail.
Yeah.
When you pay attention to detail and you know what you have to do, depending on where a person is on the field, doesn't make a difference where they started at and how they run around. You just have, when the ball is snapped, where were they? And I have to stick to those keys. And they seem to be doing a great job of that, which when I was talking with Jeremy, he said that they're holding each other accountable. That word right there, accountability, is something that we haven't seen for the most part, and now we're starting to see it.
There was a big change in a week. I mean, it was pouring up in New York, so the conditions were terrible. Aaron Rodgers didn't take part in it, but the Jets really had a lot of success. And I don't know how you judge. I'll ask you, how do you judge these practices? Because they didn't have a lot of success against them, and it was mainly Tyrod Taylor and backups. This week was different. They really felt unfazed by all of this. Not that we're keeping score during all of it, but it wasn't like a track meet like you might have expected with a new defense trying to figure out maybe the best offense in the league.
I think when you look at it, like you go into your first game practicing against another team, a lot of guys may have never done it before. Wasn't accustomed to it. Then you have bad weather on top of it, so you're trying to be cautious and not hurt yourself. Okay, you the coaches told you no fighting because prior to them going up there to go against the Jets, you heard about the $200,000 fines, and you know when Dan mentioned it in one of his press conferences, I figured he had already talked to these players, so they went up there a little less motivated by doing something that might get them in trouble, or get the team in trouble. But the Jets were ready to go, and then this week, you can see that growth came. They came back and said, okay, we're going to match your intensity.
Well, to your point, like it looked like Eichenberg, the center of the Dolphins, was trying to goad Daron Payne into something today, and he just wouldn't go there. Mm-hmm. He's keeping his money in his pocket.
Hell yeah. You know, see, back in the day, in my days, I was like, oh man, we could fight. They wasn't filming practices, didn't have that much attention on it, so you didn't have to worry about fines in practice. Now, they're looking at these things just like a game now. And when you go and if you're going to bring a black eye to the league, they're going to make sure they take some green at your pocket.
To your point, like you were talking to Larry Izzo, the special teams coach, and he's telling us that you got into a fight with him down here.
Yes.
No fine for that one.
No fine. Because probably they didn't care about the inter-squad practices back then. Now, football is so big, people want to know every little thing that you're doing. Right. And I know people like to say, oh, man, you can't keep control in practice. The reason that people lose it in practice is because they wasn't getting fined for it. Yeah. Now you're going to find out that people keep control even more. Whenever someone is trying to take your money, you understand what you can and what you can't do.
The one moment that stood out for me, too, at least defensively, was in red zone drills. Yes. Tua runs a play where it gets a single for Tyreek Hill coming across the field back of the end zone. Mike Sanders, still the rookie, ends up on him. He floats one up the hill. It's one-on-one back of the end zone, and Sanders still wins. These are the moments where I go, more of that. Because, you know, you see him against maybe the most elite player in the NFL right now. He's number one on the NFL 100 list for good reason. We saw what he did to us last December. Oh, yeah. He's elite, and here's Sanders still unfazed.
He's unfazed by anybody on the field, and I've talked to guys throughout this team, and I asked him questions about him because I've been impressed by him from the moment I saw him. He walked into, we were building a garden rebuild at this school, and he walks in, and I'd like to watch when you get all the guys together, all this testosterone together. Who does everybody talk to? Who do they all begin to float towards? And everybody floated towards Mike Sanders still. Okay, and when you see that, even Jayden went towards him. So I'm saying this kid has something special. Then you watch him on a football field, and he did it. He is ready. He's prepared. He's athletic. He doesn't seem overwhelmed by anything. But we'll take a step back. That play worked a lot because they ran a two-gap linebacker blitz and got the tool. He had to get rid of that ball. Yeah. And when he floated it, Mikey was right there to knock it out. So as I stated before, the defensive backfield is going to get better when that rush gets better. And based off what I saw there, Joe Witt and Dan are not going to be sitting back waiting for you to just try to throw balls down the field.
No. Jalen Waddle did not take part in the practice today, and I don't believe is going to play this weekend. He's nursing some kind of injury. Odell Beckham's on the Dolphins now, but was working out on the side. He's still on the PUP list, so we're not going to see him as well. But if they put their starters out there, and I was talking to one of their reporters today because in preseason game number 2 last year, they played them into the second half of the second game. So we may see a lot of them. We're going to get a lot of Tyreek Hill. So I wonder where you are on just our corners in general as a whole, because we might get a real test on Saturday night.
We will get a real test, and I think the one thing I would like to see it, we saw last year, and we saw the way that Forbes played. He had his ups and his downs, but this has been a great test for him. I think he held his own out there today. He was right there and he made some plays. So when you go into a game like this, like anytime, I know when I would go into games and my friends going against games, if you saw somebody that was real good, you felt this is a time I can show what I'm about. And everybody should be thinking that way. And when you look at a team with that much speed, this secondary, who I'm sure they all feel like last year wasn't us and we're a better team this year, what better team to show it against?
I mean, you think that way too, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
It was a bust last year.
Oh, it was horrible. I mean, it was hard.
I don't think it's an indictment of
It's not an indictment on anybody, but the whole thing about it is they didn't seem to be prepared. And if you don't seem to be prepared, and then you're the constantly being thrown out there. You're not being held accountable.
Yeah.
So I just look at this whole thing now, and I can't guarantee what's going to happen, but I can tell you one thing: accountability is something that's happening around here.
Yeah, I think there was confusion last year at what everybody's jobs were, and we hear Dan Quinn and Joe Witt talk about this over and over and over. I want to hear the communication, and then I'll know that we're in the right spot. So they're, however you want to talk about it, simplifying it, making sure everybody understands what their roles are, hopefully not leaving people hung out to dry this time.
Totally.
And in the case with Forbes, like, I think he needs a redo. You know, I mean, that was a very tough year on a defense that fell to spots I never thought I'd ever see the team fall to with the talent that they had on it. And he needs a do-over again.
He does.
We'll go see how it goes.
But, you know, and a lot of that comes from Forbes, too. You know, your coaches can put you in the right spot, but also you can do enough studying yourself. And I'm not saying he doesn't, but I think you have to help yourself out. When I had to switch from being a quarterback to doing all these other positions, I didn't just wait for practice.
Yeah.
Okay? I had guys on the team who tell me you got to watch more film, and don't watch TV, watch film. It's a difference. A lot of people say they watch a film and they finish in 20, 30 minutes. Now, if you're watching film, you're going to finish in an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours. Ernest Biner showed me that I was giving off signals to the defense about what I was about to do. So I had to change those things up. And if you want to improve, you got to make sure that every moment you have to make yourself better. And that could just be studying for a little bit, looking a little bit longer. It can help you out. Forbes needs to be trying to do that as well.
Yeah. The other big thing that's happening in the game is Andrew Wiley returned. He's missed a lot of time, so he's probably going to start at right tackle. He did take part in the practice today. Cornelius Lucas is back. He missed the game against the Jets. He's probably going to start at left tackle. We're still waiting on Brandon Coleman to come back from his injury. Hopefully he'll get into the Patriots game. We'll see. But I think this is another, let's see what we have in front of Jayden Daniels. He had one little series. They didn't have either tackle that would project to be a starter. Let's see what that looks like on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think when he played against the Jets, then they had to call a game that basically said that we don't have our right and our left tackle. This game, they could probably call a different game, and then you get to see a little more of what you have. For a quarterback, you get 3 to 4 seconds to throw the football. Your offensive line is not supposed to block 8-9 seconds. So if they can block 3 to 4 seconds and allow Jayden to be able to go through his little process and get rid of the football, you know, handle it off, and you can move the people, and you can have different little plays to play action and things like that to slow off the rush a little bit, they're going to be fine. Ultimately, when it comes down to, I don't know anybody ever in the league that just takes on one person every game and whips them all the time. You get some help sometimes. Yeah. You get a chip from the tight end. You get a chip from the running back. And I've already seen them in the last preseason game where the running backs were doing that. The tight ends were doing that. So if I saw it in the first game, I expect to see it throughout the season. So if Wiley is back and Lucas is back, you don't just stop helping them. You know, it may be just a little bump, or just my presence may make that guy not want to come upfield, and he sits there, give Luke a better chance or Wiley a better chance. The offense, the play calling, and the coach can help that out as well. And I think I already see Cliff doing that.
And then today, you know, they were sharp. And I'm always like, I want to be careful because I know they're trying to slow roll Jayden here. Like, they do not want to thrust him out there and say that he's anything more than what he is, which is a rookie quarterback who's got a great background and a lot of athletic skills, who did a couple of cool things the other day that everybody freaked out about, but he hadn't played a game yet. And they're trying to keep it in the bottle. But if you watch this practice today, it's hard not to get excited about what's going on here. They were prolific actually early in this practice.
The way I look at it is, we have seen a lot in the Washington, D.C. area. So we like to be patient and we like to pump our brakes on it. But I stopped looking and listening to the people in Washington now. I start looking at the people around the country that had seen him playing. And a guy today posted that, you know, this rookie is good. And at first I thought he was talking about the defensive back of Miami, but he's talking about Jayden Daniels. Okay, and when you have a guy who seems to have a control over it, you watch him on the sidelines in practice where after a play, he's talking to the veterans about what he expects and where he wants them and asking them questions. Normally, rookies, I don't care what position you're in, you wait for somebody to talk to you. He's initiating it. You know why? Because he's there at 5 o'clock in the morning. He's doing all the things he needs to do to prepare himself. Hell, he has one job: being a quarterback of the Washington Commanders. Yeah. And he is taking full advantage of it, unlike a lot of rookies. They come in worried about everything. No. He's taking this bull by the horn and he's running with it.
You know, his personality matters too.
Yeah.
Like he seems like a very humble guy, very relatable guy. Mm-hmm. He's quiet, you know. He's not out there. He's not pushing himself out there. His agent's not pushing him out there. The team's not pushing him out there. He seems, I don't want to speak for him, but he seems fine with that. And you're seeing this, to your point, more and more and more. If these guys are going to rally around him and play for him, it's half the battle.
Yeah.
Right. It really
that's
is.
over half the battle.
Yes.
They have to believe in you first.
Yes.
Like I made a comment, and it's kind of about the coach, though. I said, people always talk about, oh, this coach can draw up this scheme, this coach can do this, he can motivate players. The whole thing about it, can you get somebody to buy into what you're selling?
That's right.
And Dan Quinn has walked in, and this coaching staff, they've gotten all their players to buy in. Well, Jayden Daniels, when you get a quarterback, what you have to realize is, will guys follow this person? And I think the thing I've seen with Jayden Daniels is like, he doesn't act as if I'm bigger than everybody else. He's like, I'm just a part of the crew. And now and this is what I've done, I've talked more to defensive players about Jayden Daniels than I did offensive players.
Yeah.
They're with him in meetings all the time. The other guys are watching him on the field. And everyone to the point say, he knows what he's doing. He throws the ball in the right place.
Yeah.
He doesn't put the ball in harm's way. And he's a relatable guy.
You know, it's funny, a week ago when he did the famous called out of a play and he wasn't supposed to do that, but he did, and then he smiles at the sideline, there was part of me that goes, you know, unlike Miami, who's going, we're just going to practice what we do. You can't stop us. Like, we don't care. Forget this vanilla stuff. I'm hoping in a couple of years, that's how we are with Cliff Kingsbury. He goes, you know what? Like, what do we need to hide? Let's just
everybody knew Joe Gibbs was running the counter train. They couldn't stop it.
Bring it. What are you going to do? You can't stop us, so just do it. I'm hoping in a couple of years, that's where we are. But there's this part of me that looks at what happened a week ago and why it was such a big deal, as if like Dan Quinn and company don't want anybody to know that he's ahead of the curve. That there's a little bit of that where they're going, you know what? You don't need to show anybody that you know what you know.
But sometimes you can't stop that. And I think what happened in that situation, I can remember with Coach Gibbs, and we did something in practice, and he was like, what if we have to put you in that quarterback? What would you do? And I was already ahead because I didn't wait for us to install. I kept going ahead. Basically what Jayden Daniels done, what he did in that game, he is already knowing what to do based off of what looks.
He gave a glimpse that maybe they didn't want given.
They maybe didn't want it to hit, but I guarantee you they sitting there going, well, damn, this guy is already that far advanced.
Yeah.
You can't hide that. You know, you can sit up here and try to hide it, but you want him to be able to show you what everything he knows, because they are trying to give him a little bit at a time to see if he can understand and work out what they're doing. Well, if he's showing you he can handle it, you start putting more. Instead of having to come out in the first game and be a little bit more limited based off of what you think he knows, when he shows you he can know more, you can throw more, and then that make it a better opportunity for you to win that football game.
I got to tell you, like, I think this team has gone out of its way to manage expectations differently than I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like we're like dying to have a franchise quarterback here. I've been waiting my whole life to have a franchise quarterback here. I mean, this team didn't even really have one when they were winning Super Bowls. They had guys that came in and played for other teams or had great years, but they're not Hall of Famers. You know, like, we've been waiting for this 5 to 10 year run with this special player, and I don't know whether it's going to be this way or not, but they have gone out of their way. And I thought what Dan Quinn said the other day when they kind of followed up with, why are you so kind of not irked, but like, why are you making such a point of him changing that play? Don't you want him to do things like that? And he was basically like, we're not trying to set him up to be good right now. We're trying to set him up to be good for his career. And we're trying to take this in a process that works not only for us, but for him too. And I wonder if that resonates. You know,
it resonates because I liken it to when I got here in Washington and when we got into the weight room. I was always an Olympic powerlifter in college, and I like to do more things. And then I did a lot of plyo stuff. And D-Boy, Dan Riley, the strength coach, he said, we don't set this workout thing for the guy that's in the best shape. We set it out for the guy that's in the least amount of shape. So basically what I get from Dan Quinn is their practices and their way of coming along is for the guys that know a little less.
Yeah.
But we got this guy over here who seems to know every damn thing before we want him to know it. But when you get somebody, a special person like that, are you going to hinder him by holding him back, or are you going to allow him to go out there and flourish and be who he really is?
Yeah.
What he does, he makes your team get better quicker.
Yeah.
He makes other people work harder. So I think that's something they're going to have to manage it in the proper way and not stifle it.
Yeah. I think the other thing, too, and that really stands out about what's going on with him and why I think his personality fits here is this area and this fan base has always not necessarily flocked directly to stars, but to hard workers.
Yeah.
Like they like people that put the effort in. Like they don't need to be big stars. Like we loved Art Monk.
Yeah.
We loved Darryl Green. We loved you. We loved the Hogs. We loved like Riggo had a big personality.
Yeah.
Right. But like
huge.
Yeah. we love these hard workers.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be some big superstar here for us to kind of fall in love with you. And this is what he's very humble, but everybody keeps saying he's putting in the work, and he wouldn't be ahead of schedule if he wasn't.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like for me, I'll look at the example I always use was Alex Ovechkin. When you hear about how much Alex worked, and I'm like, okay, if the best player on your team works that hard, nobody else has an excuse as to why they need to. Well, now rolls in Jayden Daniels. A guy that comes in, very nice personality, is not very boisterous where he tries, I deserve all this, I want. No. I'm just going to put in the work and see what happens. You think the other guys can ever sit up here and make a complaint or an excuse as to why they can't work harder? When the guy who comes in, who probably can act a certain way, who doesn't, but he puts all the work in. I think when you can get those type of players and those, and let's flip it to Mikey Saberstill. Okay, he's a guy on the other side of the ball who plays a position that cornerback, nickel, whatever you want to call it. They are some me type people, but the guy does everything you need to do to show others what to do. He's a leader. So when you get those guys on your team, can you imagine those two guys standing around for 7-10 years and they're working the way that they do? And what else? If the people follow them like they're doing now, what can happen with this team?
Yeah. The other guy I want to talk to you about, and the position group I want to talk about is receiver. I think it's very much in question as we go into this game. I think there's a lot of interesting dynamics that are going on. But I want to start with De'Ami Brown for a minute because he made the big catch last week. And to this point of like guys who are putting effort in and are just waiting for opportunity, he's the epitome of it. Like this is year 4. He hasn't had a lot of opportunity, but through the years, if you've paid attention, he is a willing participant on special teams. He will go cover kicks. He will block on the outside. He just hasn't gotten a lot of opportunity. And all of a sudden, I think you're seeing all of that kind of manifest here. And I think this staff sees it in him, which is why I think he's getting more and more and more opportunity.
And I think what happens is sometimes guys come in and they're overwhelmed by some things. I'm not saying that that's how he was. That can happen with guys sometimes. And you're trying to find your way. Let's be real. In college, when you're the top guy, you normally don't play special teams. The NFL is a totally different story. You get paid big money to play special teams. And I think De'Ami now, where it's going, that light bulb is going on where I'm in my 4th year now. And these people might believe in me a little more. I have to make plays. And I watched him catch balls in practice from every quarterback. He's running full speed down the field. Like you said, he's a willing participant in special teams. That shows a certain level of toughness that coaches may like to see. So he's getting his opportunity now. And I'm happy for him.
So am I.
Okay? I'm happy because
he's getting rewarded for this.
When it finally starts to come, and I hear a lot of people on social media and all saying, well, he does it every year around this time in training camp. It seems a little different this year. Different. And I'm thinking that he's ready to take that step in the football field. Normally what people do is people always talk about contract years and things like that. I always tell them people normally around year 3, 4 is when people really hit their stride. So maybe he's just hitting his stride because contract year comes up normally at 4th or 5th year. And that's when guys normally play better. Why? Not because they're in the contract year, because now I have a comfortability to what I know what to do. I know what's expected of me, and I know how to get it done.
Well, you can play harder, but you can't play better unless you know what you're doing. And I think this is where we are a little bit with him. I think it's kind of coming at the right time where the opportunities are coming. They're going to profile Luke McCaffrey. 3rd round pick. We haven't seen a lot from him in camp. What do you think he needs to show this weekend?
Well, I think the thing I noticed a little bit throughout camp is they have a idea of him doing multiple things, and I think at this point he needs to just show that you could do one of them real good. And then the other stuff, you can learn it. It's going to come along to you. Luke is a guy where I think they want him to see him in the slot. They might probably want to see him in the backfield doing some things. When you come from a family like that, and if your brother's name is Christian McCaffrey, I don't know what you can show or not show, but they're going to try to see if you can do some of the things he does. And you would think that, because I have 4 brothers. All my brothers, I tried to do something from them. And luckily, God gave me enough ability to, as I got older, I was better than all of them and everything, but I took something from everybody. And I'm guaranteeing you, Adam Peters, when he drafted him, is expecting some of that Christian to be in Luke, and they want to see whatever. I think it's just go out there, show that you know everything that's just like you know how to go out and do your techniques. You got all the schemes down. But then if you get an opportunity to show the special part of you, he can pick them up and put them down.
It's interesting. The families everywhere. The oldest brother Max is actually a coach on the Dolphins. He's an assistant here, so he'll be coaching tomorrow night against his brother. All right, so that leads me to Jahan Dotson.
All right.
So here's McCaffrey. He's going to get profiled. I think they want to see what he can do. Yeah. We know who Terry is. They love Zacchaeus. Like you're seeing it more and more and more. And we talked about Diami. So where's Jahan fitting in all of this to you?
Jahan Dotson, I'm going to show you where he fits where he was in his rookie season. Okay. He showed what he's capable of. All right. Last year wasn't the year that he had in his rookie season, and there was some injuries here and there. What Jahan Dotson has to do now is go on the football field and do the things you did as a rookie to make people say that this guy is special. We got to get him a chance. I really believe that Jahan is the other guys have made these plays. He's on the football field too now. He can go make those plays. So the ultimate thing is all you got to do is go out there and keep being who you are. A lot of times people think you got to become something else. No. He has to just go out and make the plays because they have listen, he was the first round grade, not just for Washington, for multiple teams out there. So all of these coaches understand he can play.
People say, he was drafted too high. He was going to get drafted, 3 spots lower? Like, what are you talking about?
He just has to go out there and play, and that's all. And the thing of it ain't nothing I'm just saying. The coach is saying it. He's telling you the receivers that have come out and overly impressed. And if I'm in that receiver room and I hear him talking about Diami, I hear him talking about Luke, I hear him talking about OZ, I'm going to say, well, I got to show something too. That's just the way I'm wired. And I think anybody that plays this game at this level, to get to this point, you've had to overcome some stuff. You had to compete against some people. You had to fight some people to get to where you are. He just got to go back to where he was as a young kid, where he wanted to prove stuff to people and be that guy.
Okay, because and people are going to have seen this because he did an interview after the practice again, and I've seen this multiple times where he's done interviews with groups of reporters, and he talks about his confidence. And I'm sitting there going, "You're a first-round pick who had 7 touchdowns as a rookie with, frankly, bad quarterbacking. Like, where?"
The thing of it is
confidence. What do you mean we're asking about your confidence? You know you can do this. Like, what are we talking about here?
And the thing about it, it's like, I think people have to understand a lot of things start based off a certain thing. Like when you start talking about your confidence, normally you lacking it. You don't feel like you're comfortable in doing what you know you can do.
I'm sitting there wanting to shake him, going, "I know you're good, man."
Yeah.
See, that's we all know you're good.
If you're questioning yourself, just go out there and just let it go.
Yeah.
I've had moments in my career where I had 2 fumbles early in the game. I go to the sideline and I was like, man, I don't know what's going on. Dude still said, boy, be who you are. The next return, I went 50-something yards. Sometimes we just got to get out of our own way and just let things react instead of overthinking it.
Yeah. All right. Overall, anything else stand out to you that you want to see against the Dolphins this weekend?
I want to keep seeing the effort. I want to keep seeing the speed. And then again, I don't know exactly how long Jayden is going to play, but I want to see how the offensive line is going to work.
Yeah.
When I look at defense, because for me, everybody else is looking at Jayden, they're looking at Jahan, they're looking at the Mikey. I'm really looking at the O-line, D-line. That leads your football team. I want to see how these guys are going to go out here and dominate the offensive line. My best way of watching the game is from the side of the field and watching the line of scrimmage. And I want to see who's going to be getting knocked back. And I damn sure hope it's not going to be anybody in Burgundy and Gold.
And I think defensively, I don't think anybody, quote unquote, game plans here, but I could see where Dan Quinn and Joe Witt need to have a discussion with their unit. These guys are going to show what they do.
Yeah.
They're going to put Tua out there. They're going to put people in motion. They're going to have a track team running around out there. This is one of those times where it might be, I don't know that we're game planning, but we want to see how you guys react because this is execution in the NFL at its finest currently, and they're not scared to do it in the preseason. Let's see how you react to it.
As I said today, I think Washington looked like they belonged, okay? And I say this. Everyone look at it and they act like Tyreek Hill, he just got Washington last year. Tyreek Hill had almost 1,800 yards receiving, so he got everybody, okay? The dude played 17 games. He had 1,799 yards. So that lets you know how good he is. I think you go into this game and you play. He may get you sometimes. But if the overall game is where you held him in check and you handled your own, that's all you need to see. Because basically last year, a lot of teams proved that you can't stop him.
Yeah. So we'll see. They were by far the best offense. Devin Achane had the best per rush average in NFL history with at least 100 carries in a season, 7.3.
Wow.
They were the best per rush average. Like people think about the throwing down the field hill and all that stuff. They were the best rush team in the NFL a year ago. They are execution at its finest right now. And McDaniel gets a lot of credit for this, and they have very good personnel. But this is execution at its finest. This is an incredible test.
When you have receivers that run like that, and look, that running back room might be able to keep it up with those receivers.
Yes.
So when you have that type of
rookie that they got out of Tennessee, who's like a tick behind Achane, they got another speed running back.
When you have that type of speed on your team, you can confuse and have a lot of people messing up because what you're trying to do, you know how fast they are naturally.
Yeah.
So you like thinking, I can't let them get behind me. Do you bail too soon and leave a lot of space?
Yeah.
You know, so they have to really know what they're doing. And I think the way you stop the speed, destroy them up front with the big guys and get to the quarterback. That speed slows down real quick.
We'll see. All right, Brian, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, man.
Doing this with you. You can watch Brian with Chick Hernandez and Brian Colbert Jr. on the preseason broadcast on WUSA locally, and you can hear me, Logan, and London on the call of the game, Dolphins Commanders. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of Booth Review.